Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the new David Fincher film, The Killer. So let's get into it. Alright, I gotta let you know that I am a massive David Fincher fan. He is a top 5 filmmaker of all time in my eyes. His films just go from good to great. The amount of classics that this dude has made is insane. You have Fight Club, you have Seven, you have The Social Network, you have Gone Girl. Hell, I even loved Mank. So of course, when his latest feature, The Killer, was starting to draw some buzz and getting trailers, I was hooked and super excited to see this film, and I finally have, and I have to say, it really lived up to my expectations. This is perhaps David Fincher's most precise film. We all know that he has a very perfectionist style of filmmaking. His edits are really clearly defined. His layered storytelling is just so impeccable, and the effect that he has on a film is really significant, and that is no different here. But the one thing I really notice is just how precise this is, especially in the editing department. I mean, from the very opening sequence, you have cuts from the outside or our perspective, and then it cuts to his perspective, and certain things change, whether that's the score or the soundtrack or even his inner monologue. It all is just consistently moving with the editing, and it is very impressive, and it felt even more noticeable compared to what we're used to from David Fincher, which is saying a lot because it is a trademark of his. So let's get into the film's story a little bit more without spoiling it, of course. The Killer is about a hitman played by Michael Fassbender, who absolutely kills it in this role, I might add, who is trying to track down someone who did something kind of personal to him, and we're kind of following the breadcrumbs and trying to head towards this one moment with this person that he's trying to find. That's as much detail as I'll go into here. It is based off a graphic novel. I don't know how accurate it is to the graphic novel, but all I can say is this is a very tightly paced, tightly edited, and just very compelling film. So going back into Michael Fassbender, he is insane in this movie. It is perhaps my favorite performance of the entire year. It won't get nominated for any Academy Awards because of the genre it's playing into, but it is just so good to see Fassbender on the screen again. He hasn't really done a whole lot for a while now, well, at least anything that I've seen lately. So it's just so refreshing to see him in a film again. And he just absolutely lives up to being in a David Fincher film. It is one of my favorite David Fincher characters, and he has quite a few great characters. He is very one-note and strategic, but it really works within the context of the film. He's all about strategy. He is very cold. This is also one of the coldest David Fincher films, and that is another thing that he is known for. He makes some very cold movies about some very cold people, and this might be one of his coldest. You think that this character might be some kind of anti-hero or someone you can sympathize with. He does have a lot of elements of a literally me character, kind of like Ryan Gosling in Drive, or Ryan Gosling in Blade Runner, or Ryan Gosling in whatever he does. But mostly Drive was the kind of closest comparison that I could make in terms of a character, because he doesn't say a whole lot. It's all going on inside of his head, and there is an inner monologue and narration that kind of guides you through that process and what he's thinking. It's also very effective. David Fincher and screenwriter Andrew Kevin Walker use a lot of the same words of dialogue, but the context changes throughout the film, and it makes you realize that this character is starting to question himself, his morals, and his kind of viewpoint of the world and the way that he approaches this job when all of these circumstances significantly change. The way this transition continues throughout the film and this inner battle that the killer is going through, I found extremely compelling and very well handled. And once again, is a credit to the beautiful editing that takes place in this film that helps communicate that. This editing, I swear to God, is some of the best of the year as well. I absolutely adored this editing. Just incredible stuff. But going back to this character, he really isn't a great person. He truly is a stone cold killer that just focuses on the job. He fights with his inner compassion all the time, but there are certain sequences in this movie that really show you that this guy is not a good person. He does not have a whole lot of compassion or really any feelings. This really feels like a true serial killer. And the way that David Fincher approaches it with some of these scenes can almost make your heart sink in some regards, in the way that it convinces you that this film's going to go down a certain path and then it doesn't. Just really meticulous stuff where a lesser filmmaker might not have been able to pull this off. There are also just so many tension-filled scenes in this that really had your heart stirring. There's a lot of music. The score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross fits the film perfectly, and Fincher knows when to play this music versus when not to play this music. And when it's not playing, you just get so much tenseness, so many still and quiet moments as something daunting could be happening. There's a lot of tension in these scenes, and once again just helps to capture a really engaging tone throughout the course of this runtime. And in terms of some of the supporting cast, there's not too many. This really is a character study, so Michael Fassbender is just eating up the screen time, which I'm fine with because he bodies this role. But the one real standout to me in the supporting cast was Tilda Swinton. She has one kind of big sequence that I thought was one of the best scenes in the movie. It kind of revealed a lot about the characters, and she just really chews up this dialogue. I'm surprised that she isn't in more David Fincher films because she's kind of a perfect fit. Now, going into the tiniest flaw that I have with this movie, and this might be erased in the future because I truly love this film, but that only issue that I had was this film kind of has a cyclical nature to it. It plays out in chapters, and each chapter we're consistently building and building and building, and then you get a really tense or high octane scene that draws big emotions out of you, that makes you feel something. And then we go to the next chapter and it kind of resets itself a little bit. And I found those moments to be a little bit jarring. That may vary depending on your, I guess, patience or your willingness to adapt real quickly from a big scene to then just going low key. It didn't bother me too much, but it was just a little thing, I think, that was just a little bit jarring and could have been a little bit smoother. And then of course this movie's called The Killer, so how are the kills? They're fantastic, and there's quite a few of them. You'll definitely be satisfied with how many there are and the way that they happen. They're stone cold, they make you feel something. David Fincher really builds with them and really earns these moments. They're not just one kill after another with massive action set pieces. It really takes the time to make these kills feel really earned and really compelling. There's one action sequences that is a little bit more hand-to-hand combat that I think would draw some mixed reactions from the audience due to the way it's stylized a little bit. But I kind of enjoyed it. It made some characters feel powerful. It made some of the punches feel like they had more impact, and there was a lot of pain going on, which was uncomfortable, yet important for an action sequence like this. I mean, overall, I really love this film. David Fincher really doesn't miss in my eyes. I haven't seen Alien 3. I'm sure that one's going to be bad, but he doesn't even see that as a film of his, so why should I? In terms of what he does and him having his creative freedom, he's just brilliant. He knows how to restrain himself. He knows how to create just really tense moments and brilliant scenes and exploring a kind of disturbed character in a way that makes you want to support them, but then again, you're kind of disgusted by some of his actions, so you're kind of conflicted yourself, and that's the way that David Fincher wants to play it. I truly thought that this was a brilliant film. In terms of ranking it as a Fincher film, it's really hard at this point. It's too early to tell. My opinion could drop or rise with multiple viewings, but I don't think it's his worst, but I don't quite think it's his best. The Social Network to me holds that spot, and films like Fight Club and Gone Girl are really, really incredible watches, so it's a little bit tough, but I do think it is a fantastic film that I highly recommend you check out. I'm going to give The Killer a 4.5 out of 5. Just a truly brilliant film from a truly brilliant director. Anyway, those are my thoughts towards The Killer. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below if you've seen the film. If not, are you excited to check this film out? I highly recommend you do. It's going to be an awesome ride for you. And with that said, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.